All right, this is session 3 of the Olympic and Powerlifting program, phase 1. Refer to the intro video for more information on how this workout will flow. In this video, I'm just going to explain your mechanics, your body mechanics and technique for all of the exercises in this day of working out. Okay, so we're going to begin with the warm-up movements. We're going to begin with a spine bar hip hinge. So take one of these PVC pipes, okay, and you're going to line it up on your back like this. So you're going to have it in contact with your tailbone, your head, and your shoulder blades. And you're going to try to keep those 3 points of contact. You can have your feet so that they're just about hip width. And then you're going to hinge at the hips and trying to keep those 3 points of contact as you come down. Just go as far as you can. Don't lose your tailbone. That's indicating that you're rounding your back. This is going to be training you to have perfect posture, especially with your deadlift motions and the pulling part of your Olympic lifts. Okay, next you're going to come into a pigeon stretch. Pigeon stretch is where you cross one leg in front, reach the other leg back behind you, and sit into your hips. You're really going to feel the stretch on the glute of your back leg and the hip flexor of your front leg. Make sure to get both sides on that one. Arm circles are next. You're just going to draw a circle with your arm, but try not to arch your back when you go back. Instead, think about squeezing the shoulder blades together at the back end of the motion on all repetitions. Shoulders across stretch is next, and that's this one where you're just going to reach your arm across, get a little tug with the other arm, and feel the stretch across your deltoid. Next one is a pec stretch, where I can hold on to something. I can hold on to the wall, reach my arm out, make sure it's below your shoulder, make sure you're not shrugging your shoulder when you're doing this stretch. Sit the shoulder down, and then turn your body away from that outstretched arm to feel that stretch across your pec. And then the last warm-up one is just a V-sit stretch. So just have a seat down, open up your feet as wide as you can, and then sit your torso into an upright position, and you'll really feel the stretch on the inner thigh and also in the hamstring, the back of your leg. Okay, on to the strength exercises. The first one we'll do is your strict presses, barbell strict presses. So I don't have a rack in here, but I would want to take this probably from a rack and make sure it's set up so it's right below your shoulders. And then we're going to, first of all, we got to establish the rack position. Okay, so notice that the bar is on my shoulders. If I released my hands, I would be able to get the bar onto my shoulders because that's where I want it to be. I don't want it to be just resting in my hand. I have to flip the elbows through a little bit more to get it on my shoulders. Think about squeezing the shoulder blades together. Now, I don't have to have them pointed directly up. In fact, I want them to be down underneath. I'm going to have better leverage to press here than I will here. Okay, so down, but establishing the rack position. Now, get your whole body engaged and ready for this exercise. Flexing the legs, the feet are in a narrower stance underneath your hips with your heels down. Bracing your abdominals, and then when I go, so you can see here from the side that my head is a little bit in front of the bar. If I didn't move my head out of the way and I press the bar straight up like I want to, I would hit my chin. So right as I start to press, I have to get my head out of the way, and then as soon as the bar passes my head, then I shoot it back through so that I'm overhead. And this is where I want to be up at the top, directly overhead, directly over the shoulders with the bar. Control on the way down, reestablish the rack position, and then press again. And this is going to be a pretty, you're not going to be able to do nearly as much on this exercise as you will with the other ones, especially at the beginning of the program with the higher rep stuff. Next exercise will be deadlifts. So make sure you have a plate on the bar even to start on this exercise. And then the mechanics with this one are, you can do it one of two ways. You can do conventional stance where your feet are down underneath your hips and your arms are going to be outside of your feet, or you can do sumo style where there's a little bit of, you're either going to be double hip width with your heels down, or maybe even a little bit more than that, and your arms are going to be straight down from your shoulders on this one. You can always use an alternate grip for your deadlifts. If you're just starting out and the bars you're using a lighter weight, you're going to be able to hold on just fine with this conventional grip. But as it gets a little bit heavier and you feel like the grip is becoming your limiting factor, then you can come to the alternate grip. And just make sure you're switching the alternate grip each set. I'm going to show you with the conventional stance. I think most people will try to work on that. So approach the bar so that you're setting the bar inches away from your shins, centimeters away from your shins. You're going to be right close. The bar's going to be close to your leg the whole time on this exercise. Then I'm going to go down and get into position, and you can see my body angles here. My hips are below my shoulders, but I have quite a severe, almost parallel to the ground is my torso. Okay, and then I'm going to set my hands. Just make sure that I'm not. I need to go wide enough with my hands so that I'm not impinging on my knees. I don't want to have to scoot. I don't have to crunch in with my knees because my hands are too narrow. So go a little bit wider. You'll have to drop down a little bit lower. And before you start lifting, make sure you're setting your abdominals, setting your torso for being stable. And the way to do that is, first, with your abdominals, think about you're breaking out of a belt. So flex your abdominals down and see how that compresses me down. That's going to make me more stable at the torso. And then the other thing with the upper back is to think about pushing the arms straight down. So I'm flexing the pecs and I'm flexing the arms and the shoulders are going down. And that's going to create a very stable torso. And it's going to enable me to do the motion from the hip while keeping the spine from rounding. And I don't want to be loading a rounded spine here. Pressing down, bracing the abdominals. Okay, now I'm set and I'm ready to lift. So I'll do it in slow motion first. Eyes are gazing in front, so you're not going to be your neck is going to be in line with the rest of your torso. So as I'm going to be looking down to start, and the eyes will kind of gaze up as I stand down. So the neck goes with the rest of your torso. Okay, I'm here. And another indicator for knowing if you're in a good position. Do you feel the stretch in the back of your leg when you're at the bottom? Are you loading up your hamstrings and your glutes? You want to feel that. And if you are, then you're going to be prepared for this exercise. Okay, so now let's get in position, tighten up, and I'm beginning to lift. Keep it really close to your legs. And once I get past the knee, the exercise is going to be changing a little bit. So from here to here, my hips and shoulders rise at about the same rate. My torso angle doesn't change much. It's once I get past the knee that my torso angle changes and I come to an upright position and fully extend the hips at the top of the motion. Now this is probably the trickiest part right here. So on the way down, I want to send the hips back first. I have to keep the bar back. I have to be active. If I just let it go, it's going to come out, but I have to be flexing to keep the bar back here against my leg. Keep your knees out of the way. Don't let your knees come forward. Keep your knees out of the way so that the bar can come in a straight line. And once the bar gets past the knees, then you can bend the knees and they'll come in front of the bar a little bit. For this program, set the bar down in between every rep. Reset. And drive all the way through aggressively. Those are your deadlifts. Okay. Next, we're going on to some band wide pulls. So I can use one of these closed loop bands. I can also use an open loop band. I'm going to tie it around something that's a little bit below my chest height. This band is actually a little too heavy for me, so I'm not even going to try to do it with that band. I'm just going to show you what the motion is. That's how you would set it up, but I'll show you what the motion is going to be. What I'm going to be doing is basically drawing a V, or another way to think of it is I'm coming up into a Y shape overhead. This is where your overhead squats are going to happen. So this is specifically working on the strength of your upper back to get into that overhead position. So I'm going to be holding onto the band, and then as I come up overhead, there's going to be resistance, and I'm going to have to pull that bar back using my upper back. Elbows are staying straight, and I'm driving through, pausing at the back end of the motion for a moment, and that's your band wide pull. Next, our band chops. So if you had a cable machine, well actually we'll do cable machine on the next phase. This is going to be band. So tie your band up to something that's overhead, okay? And again, you can use, I have a closed loop band. You can also use open looped handle bands just the same. And so for this one, I'm going to be reaching my arm across my body here at the top of the motion. Set a wide base. Make sure to keep your hips and shoulders square the whole time during this exercise. And then I'm going to drive the band down to my hip and then back up overhead. And I'll repeat this motion. My abdominals are really working to make this motion happen. Also, it's my shoulders. And notice from this angle how my elbows stay straight. And at this point in the motion, see how the band is away from my body, and then it comes back to my body. The hands are away from my body, and then they're over my body again at the top. Those are your band chops. Make sure to do both sides. Bicep curls, dumbbell bicep curls are next. Get your pair, stand tall, flex through your legs, keep your elbows in line with your midline, and then you'll curl them up. And there's a couple different ways to do your curls, and it's not too important which way you're doing it, but my favorite way to do it is to have, you can see I have my palms facing each other, facing my body at the bottom, and then I do a quarter turn so that my palms are facing my shoulders at the top. And I find that to be a really effective dumbbell exercise. Bicep curls. Okay, the next couple are from the mat. So the first one I'm going to do are some hollow holds. A hollow hold is where I'm on my back, and I'm going to be extending through my legs, pointing the toes, flexing those legs, and crunching the shoulders up, reaching the arms down my side, and I'm just going to hold this position. Try to really squeeze the midline, squeeze your abdominals. The second one is pretty much just the opposite. So I'll come onto my belly, and they call them Supermans, but I'll have my hands back on this one, palms down, and then I'll squeeze the shoulder blades together to lift my head and my shoulders off the mat, and I'll squeeze my butt to lift my legs off the mat, toes pointed. And then the third one will be some side planks. On the elbow, feet stacked, and then bridge the hips up, keep the head back, hips are up and forward, and get both sides on that exercise. All right, last one are some lying reverse flies. Now, if you had a higher bench, you can do this exercise even better than this setup that I have. But a reverse fly motion is essentially where you're going to be squeezing your shoulder blades together, keeping your elbows straight, and having the weights go out to the side. So I'll lie on my bench, and yeah, I want this to be higher so that I'm actually hanging from here. So I'll just show you from this, imagining that my belly was flat on the bench, my toes are down on the mat, and I just squeezed out to the side here. Try to really control at the back end of the motion. That's how you really develop your strength in that exercise. Okay, so that's the end of the strength for session 3. And now you'd want to go on to your cardio exercises. I explained the cardio exercises in a different video.